Hey everyone, Fernando here with another Procreate demo video. This time I am drawing a Warcraft style orc, and I'm going to be using yet another technique because I'm still exploring the different ways to work with Procreate. The beginning of the drawing is similar to the way I've done it in the past. I start with a loose sketch in blue. I find that working in blue at the beginning makes it easier to lay down the cleaner lines in black afterwards. You notice in a second that I redo his right tusk a few times, and that's because having good clean lines as a base for your painting, it's something that saves time in the end. Sometimes it's very tempting to be a little bit loose with the lines and then try to fix it in the painting stage afterwards, but I find that I end up wasting a lot more time fixing those mistakes later on when I'm rendering than if I just do it from the get-go on the sketch. The line work right now it's in black, but once I finish the drawing I'm going to change it to a very dark red, and you'll notice that a lot of the shading in the rendering is also done in dark red. In fact, I might have done most of it, if not all of it, in it. That's a different quote-unquote new technique that I was talking about in the beginning of this video, is that I'm using a single dark color for the line work as well as the shading, and I'm choosing the color depending on what I want the scene to be lit in. For instance, the scene is lit in a warm light, so I chose a dark red or maroon for the shadows and the line work. But if this was a nighttime scene, I would have chosen a cooler color like blue or purple. Taking into account the mood of your scene is really important in illustration, and the mood of your scene is largely dictated by the light source. When it comes to the design of this character, I gave him a scar and a dead eye on his right side, and you'll notice that he also has a damaged spike on his armor plate on his right shoulder. And I was thinking design wise, well, if he's blind on his right side, then he probably takes a lot more damage on that side of his body because that's his blind side. And in retrospect, I should have done a little bit more of that on that right shoulder blade, like maybe missing entire chunks and stuff like that. So that's something that I would normally fix on a second passing when it comes to designing a character. This is just meant to be a quick illustration to play around with Procreate. I'm going to start rendering the shadows first using the same dark maroon color pretty much all across the board. But unfortunately Procreate crashed while I was working on this piece, and it didn't record some of the steps when it came to the highlights. So you'll notice that I finished rendering the shadows, and then all of a sudden it jumps and the drawing is fully rendered with highlights and everything. Unlike the shadows, I did use different color for the highlights, and the way I picked those is basically I will pick the base color, lighten it, and move it towards more yellow, since my light source is a warm light. So for instance, for the blues I would pick the base blue, make it lighter, move it towards green, since that's what you get when you add a little bit of yellow. For the greens, I will pick the flat green and then move it towards the yellow. Red, you move it towards the orange, so on and so forth. We're about to hit that jump that I was talking about earlier, and what you do get to see afterwards is I created an overlay layer on top of that, and I added more accent colors, like for instance a little bit of blush for the nose and the cheeks and things like that. Speaking of layers, these are all normal layers. The sketch, then the clean drawing, flats under the clean drawing, the rendering, shadows and highlights on top of it all, then the overlay for the accents. Then as always, I create one last add layer at the very top with a single color in order to bring everything together. That about wraps it up for this demo. If you enjoyed these videos, please make sure to like them, subscribe to the channel, and share them on social media. Thank you, and until next time.